Young and the Restless full episode Friday, September 27th reveals Sharon is haunted by the shadow of Heather. The Yonder plot will heat up with extremely attractive details. Yonder has always faced complex psychological battles throughout its journey. However, Sharon has never had to endure such a heavy mental burden as this time. The event of Heather's death, and Sharon's role in dumping her body off the bridge, pushed Sharon into a mental abyss that could not be easily escaped. After fainting, Sharon woke up and faced the cruel truth: she was standing in front of Heather's body. Although she did not remember clearly whether she killed Heather or not, the memory of discovering Heather dead and dumping her body off the bridge with her own hands became clear. That scene haunted Sharon, haunting her every moment, making her unable to distinguish between what was real and what was an illusion. The feeling of panic became even more intense as images of Heather kept replaying in Sharon's mind. For her, it was not just the image of a dead woman, but also her own brokenness, caught between guilt and helplessness. Fully aware of Sharon's fragile mental state, Cameron Kirsten did not miss the opportunity to take advantage of her. He wanted Sharon to keep Heather's death a secret, ignore the guilt that was tormenting her soul, and continue her life as if nothing had happened. But for Sharon, that was no longer possible. Cameron may have been scheming and calculating, but Sharon was still human, and remorse had begun to eat away at her spirit. Sharon realized that she was not an emotionless person. She could not ignore the growing guilt inside her. How did it all come to this? She wondered. It was an unanswerable question, and one that Sharon would have to face throughout her journey. Not long after Heather's death, Nick Newman, who had been Sharon's great love, and who had always cared deeply for her, began to notice that something was wrong. Sharon was no longer herself. She sat silently in a corner of the room, her face blank and panicked. Her strange actions and lack of interaction only made Nick more worried. Nick sensed that Sharon was hiding something, but he couldn't figure out exactly what. Her change in demeanor reminded him of times when Sharon had struggled with serious mental health issues in the past. Did she need help this time, and what could Nick do to help her before things got worse? As time passed, Sharon felt more and more out of control. Although she knows she needs mental health help, the guilt over Heather's death eats away at her. Sharon sobs, knowing that it's too late to save Heather. Every time she thinks about her coworker, Sharon falls into a state of panic. In an attempt to find comfort, Sharon decides to visit the grave of her deceased daughter, Cassie Newman. It's an emotional moment, as Sharon stands at Cassie's grave and remembers her daughter's tragic death years ago. Sharon had promised herself that she would never lose anyone again, but now she is faced with another loss, this time Heather, and possibly herself if she doesn't find a way out of this cycle of guilt. At the cemetery, Sharon has a major breakdown. She wonders if Cassie understands the pain she's going through. Cassie, in Sharon's mind, appears as a figure, offering comfort and wisdom. Sharon hopes her daughter can help her find peace of mind, but is it just a fantasy, or can Cassie really give her the right direction? Sharon faces a difficult choice. Will she continue to hide the truth about Heather's death, or will she go public with this terrible news? The tension comes not only from her own guilt, but also from the presence of Cameron, who wants to control and manipulate Sharon like a puppet. If Sharon decides to hide, she will have to live with the pain and fear for the rest of her life. But if she decides to go public, the consequences could be even more devastating. Sharon will have to face the law, the judgment of others, and the possibility of losing everything she has built over the years. However, it is worth noting that no one actually saw Sharon kill Heather. This opens up an important question: did Sharon really kill Heather, or was it just part of a chaotic memory that she couldn't quite make sense of? Heather's death could have been an accident, or someone else's doing, and Sharon was just a victim of what happened.
There have been recent rumors of a funeral being filmed on set in dark clothing. This has led to speculation that it could be Heather's funeral if her body is found after her disappearance. In that case, Sharon will have to face another fear: that Heather will never return, and that she will be forever responsible for her death. Will Nick and Mariah begin to have doubts about Sharon's actions? Nick, with his keen sense and love for Sharon, may dig deeper into what happened. Mariah, who has always been by her mother's side, may also begin to notice the signs. The tension continues to escalate as Sharon faces her choices, and Nick and Mariah try to uncover the dark truth behind Sharon's strange behavior. Sharon's internal and external struggles will be highlighted in a special episode, one that marks the 30th anniversary of Sharon Case's run as Sharon Newman on The Young and the Restless. While Sharon reminisces, she also faces the present and considers her future. What will she do next? Will Sharon continue to bury the truth, or will she finally free herself by going public? Sharon Newman has faced many emotional battles over the years in Genoa City, but none compared to the guilt she feels after Heather's mysterious death. Faint memories of dumping Heather's body off a bridge haunt Sharon, sending her spiraling deeper into a pit of fear and guilt. But was Sharon really responsible for Heather's death, or was it all just a series of events she couldn't control? Sharon's haunting, guilt, or a hidden truth? It all started when Sharon woke up from a faint and found Heather dead. Although Sharon couldn't remember exactly what happened, one image haunted her. She threw Heather's body off a bridge. This was the moment that marked the beginning of a never-ending series of hauntings in Sharon's mind. She was uncertain about her role in the death. Did she really kill Heather, or did she just accidentally cause something? No one actually saw Sharon kill Heather, which left a gap in the truth. Sharon may feel like she was the culprit, but there is no concrete evidence to confirm this. This opens up an important possibility. If Sharon wasn't the killer, then who could be responsible for Heather's death? A shady figure behind everything? One of the characters who could play an important role in the truth of Heather's death is Cameron Kirsten. Cameron was a negative influence in Sharon's life and may continue to be behind the events of the present. With his scheming and sinister personality, Cameron has likely manipulated Sharon's mind, making her believe that he is the culprit. If so, Cameron is not only taking advantage of Sharon's mental weakness, but also trying to control her through guilt. But what if Heather's death was real, and Cameron was just the one pulling the strings? Is it possible that Heather was murdered by someone else, and Sharon was just an unwitting witness and a victim of Cameron's mind games? While Sharon struggles with her guilt, Nick, who once loved her deeply, begins to suspect her unusual behavior. Nick notices that Sharon is increasingly fearful and distant, seemingly hiding something terrible. With his love and care for Sharon, Nick cannot ignore these signs. What would happen if Nick discovered the truth about what Sharon did, or what she believed she did? Their relationship would change forever. Nick would have to face the fact that the woman he loved had committed an unforgivable crime, or perhaps was being manipulated by someone as cunning as Cameron. Nick could feel conflicted. Part of him wanted to protect Sharon, but the other part couldn't ignore the fact that she could have killed and covered it up. It would be a difficult emotional struggle for Nick, as he had to decide whether to stay by Sharon's side and help her overcome her guilt, or to choose to leave her and avoid being drawn into a spiral of lies and guilt. Sharon Newman's life has always been full of upheaval and challenges, but this time she faces a fierce struggle between guilt and truth. The fact that no one actually saw her kill Heather leaves a huge gap in the story, opening up a lot of possibilities for what could happen next. Is Sharon the killer? Or is she just the victim of a schemer like Cameron? The truth will soon be revealed. And when it does, Sharon's relationships with Nick, Faith, and the community will never be the same again. Subscribe to YNR for the latest news.